I have never played a Persona game before. Not Persona 5, not Royal, not even Strikers, nothing. And the first time I tried Persona 5 Tactica was on the Switch. I put it down, it just didn't click for me. So why did I come back to this game? And not only that, why did I go for the Platinum? Persona 5 Tactica was never on my must play list. I wasn't a part of the fan base, I didn't grow up with Persona, I didn't know the characters, the inside jokes, or why people talk about the Phantom Thieves like they're family to them. To me, this game is just another spin-off game on Persona 5, and that's it. It's attached to a series that's very well known, that I own, but I've never touched. But like I said, the first time I tried this game was on the Switch. I bounced off of it pretty quickly. I maybe got like 5 hours in, and I just decided it wasn't for me. The combat felt a little slow compared to what I was used to at the time, and the story, I didn't really pay attention to it, so I didn't really know what was going on. Plus, this game was full of characters who clearly have a history together, but I have no idea who they are. I didn't understand the game's dynamics. I didn't feel invested in this game, and honestly, it didn't hook me. So I put it down. But then it showed up on my PS Plus catalog, and something somewhere in my head said, you know what, let's give this another shot. Maybe I was in the wrong mood the first time, maybe handheld wasn't the right way for me to experience this game. Maybe I didn't give this game systems enough time to let me understand it. Or maybe, and this is probably the most honest answer, I just wasn't patient enough to let the game build and do its thing. So I downloaded it again. This time, I went in differently. No expectations, no pressure, no trying to compare it to other tactical games that I enjoy. Just me, this strategy game, and a platinum trophy sitting there at the end of the road. That was my motivation. And somewhere along the way, something shifted. The combat in this game started to feel extremely fun, it started to click, I understood the mechanics, I understood the team synergy and their positioning, and suddenly the combat didn't feel clunky anymore. It felt like it actually had layers with it that I just didn't understand the first time. The story that once felt confusing to me now felt charming. I was actually paying attention. The characters I didn't care about slowly became personalities that I recognized. What started this platinum run as let's just see if I can tolerate this game long enough to get a platinum slowly turned into, alright, I'm actually enjoying this game. And honestly, that's when it stopped just being a second chance playthrough for this game and it became a full-on platinum run. So today, I want to talk about that journey, from bouncing off Persona 5 Tactica as a complete outsider to earning the platinum as someone who finally understood what the spin-off was trying to do. And more importantly, whether this game is actually worth as an entry point for newcomers like me, or if you really need to be a Persona fan to appreciate it. Anyways, jumping into the platinum for this game, I decided to start it off by looking up a guide on PSN profiles and trying to figure out how long this game would take me to complete. Now, the guide did say that the game would take roughly 30 hours to complete, and for this one, that was actually fairly accurate. Especially once I found my groove and got more comfortable with the combat for this game, I felt like I was breezing through it. It did take a bit of extra time to get through all of the dialogue, but this is a Persona game, so what do you expect? Now, I also want to start this journey off by letting you know that, again, I still have yet to play any other Persona game. I currently own Persona 3, 4, and 5, and Royal on Switch and PS5. But like I mentioned earlier in the video, the thing that drives me away from playing them is that extremely long completion time. My plan is to eventually get to them this year, but there are a few games and series that are in front of them at the moment. So maybe in the second half of this year, I will be able to get to at least one of them. So if you have a preference or you like one more than the other, let me know down below, or let me know which one I should play first. But anyways, let's jump into the run. To start off, we had a big introduction, and honestly, I didn't really pay attention to the beginning cutscenes. I'm not sure why I didn't, but I didn't. But eventually, we meet up with the Phantom Thieves, and they're in a place called LeBlanc, which is basically their base, but also a safe house within the game. And we ended up getting transported to some random magic kingdom where we ended up fighting an evil dictator named Marie. She managed to hit us with a left-right combo and captured more than half of the thieves. But Joker, who is the leader of the Phantom Thieves and the character I will be playing as, and Morgana are the only ones who managed to escape. But they managed to escape with the help of a random girl named Marina. After escaping the grasp of Marie, we managed to make it to Arena in the rebels' safe house, LeBlanc. Here we learned about the revolution from Arena and decided to help out if it meant that we would be able to rescue our friends. I also met Miss Lavenza, who I'm not exactly sure what she is or who she is, but I know that she brings some pretty cool features to the table. But again, is she like a god or a deity? I don't know. Miss Lavenza allows for us to have the ability to fuse our personas and to make even stronger ones. Once that feature was unlocked, we got the first trophy of the run, Lavenza's Aid. So this is what I did. I sat here and I fused all the personas I had collected up until this point within the game. Nothing special happened. So I just went back to running the main story, and we ended up attempting a break-in to the prison to rescue some of the rebels. But we ended up meeting another pivotal character within the story. Toshiro. We also managed to face off against Panther and Oracle, who are members of the Phantom Thieves, where we found out that Arena could place a flag and break the curse that was holding them, and we managed to get our 2 team members back. This allowed for me to unlock new characters to be able to play as. I kept the main story going and eventually was able to meet up with Nor and Skull, and I made it my mission to try to save them, and eventually I managed to break the flag holding them and we took them home. The next thing I did was go back into the Velvet Room and began fusing again, before continuing the main story. And this is when the first accidental fusion happened, and I got the trophy, Accidents Happen. I continued the main story and eventually got to a part of the story where I could rescue Fox and Queen, and that's exactly what I did. Once I beat that mission and watched a few cutscenes, read some dialogue, I got the trophy, The Battle Begins, for reuniting all of the Phantom Thieves. As I was continuing the main story, I managed to perform my 100th shooting attack and got the trophy, Perfect Aim. Within the main story, we were ready to infiltrate Marie's castle and take back the kingdom in the name of the rebels. While we were fighting our way through all of the enemies through the different levels, I managed to hit my 20th enemy with Despair from Joker and got the trophy, Come Arson. And honestly, all that really happened next was I finished off the rest of the missions within the castle and made my way to the boss fight with Marie. This is where we ended up beating her in the first half of the fight and then not being able to damage her in the second half due to having a giant tank that she was driving around the field. But Toshiro grew a backbone and climbed up to the top of the bell and dropped it on her. And with that came the downfall of Marie. And we got the trophy, Savior of the Land. Wait a minute. That trophy said defeated the first kingdom boss. The first? How many are there? Yeah, so honestly, I didn't realize that this was only the first kingdom. I thought this was the entire game. And then I read that trophy and I decided to go look at all of the trophy lists and I realized that there was 4 kingdoms. And I realized if each one of these is 20 plus missions and all of this dialogue, this is going to be close to a 100-hour game. I was wondering why the story felt like it was extremely short at first. Then I just realized that there was still a lot more to go through. But I made it to the second kingdom where we would be going up against Toshiro's father, who was the ruler of this world. We ended up in Japan near the Edo era, I believe. I could be totally wrong about that, but that's kind of what it reminded me of. But during the story in this kingdom, I had realized that almost all of the characters had trophies related to their skills, so I opted to try to focus on using certain characters each mission to finish those trophies quicker. The first thing I did was manage to inflict burn 20 times with Panther and got the trophy, Dance Carmen. While farming the main story, I managed to use my Persona skill 100 times and got the trophy, Manifest Your Will. While back at the hideout now, I managed to purchase my 10th weapon and got the trophy, Big Spender. I managed to inflict Forget with Arena 20 times for the trophy, No Mercy. I pulled out Noir next and realized I absolutely loved the AoE grenade launcher that she brought to the table. But honestly, that's not why I'm using her now. No, we managed to hypnotize 20 enemies for the trophy, Bewitch Them My Lady. I was also using Skull and I managed to inflict Shock 20 times for the trophy, Take That Treasure, Kid. Next thing I did was broke up my least favorite character in Morgana. But I managed to sweep away 20 enemies for the trophy, Show Them Your Might, Zoro. Now, on the way to fight the boss of the second kingdom, which was Toshiro's dad, I managed to unlock the trophy, Well Traveled, for traversing over 10,000 squares. Now, it was finally time to face off against Toshiro's dad. And this was one of the more annoying fights within this game, in my personal opinion. Not because it's difficult either. Mostly just because you're trying to advance and land a shot on the boss. But each time you hit him, you get blown away and then you have to start from a further distance to reach him. So, to me, it just seemed like it was extremely time consuming. But finally, after a little bit of time and beating him and learning more about Toshiro's past and some of the deeds that he may have previously committed, we eventually finished all the cutscenes and dialogue and made it out of there and got the trophy, A Bright Future's Ahead. When we got to the third kingdom, it was a school, and we managed to discover a door into hell. And once we beat the enemies, we met a club that was full of rebels for this world, and they brought us back to their base, which, you guessed it, was LeBlanc. Now, during this kingdom, it was all about realizing that we were basically inside Toshiro's head, and we have to learn more about his memories to figure out why we're here. But back to the trophies for a second. We got back to LeBlanc and I managed to unlock a new feature in the Velvet Room. I went in there and the first thing I did was start disassembling all the weapons I wasn't using, and after disassembling 10 of them, I got the trophy, Novice Dismantler. I also unlocked the ability to fuse new weapons, so I crafted 10 new weapons and got the trophy, Novice Craftsman. During the missions within this kingdom, while we were unlocking the different keys, I managed to land my 100th melee hit and got the trophy, Close Quarter Offensive. I also managed to freeze 20 enemies with Fox and got the trophy, Wipe Them Out, Geomon. Now, I also managed to trigger one more for the 200th time, and I got the trophy, You're Wide Open. I have to say real quick, this was probably my favorite feature of this game, The amount of options that you're given within a certain mission leave you open for so many different combos, and it's just so much fun to be able to synergize everything. I also got the trophy Stylish Synergy for performing an all-out attack 50 different times. Now, we finally met up with the boss of the Third Kingdom, only to realize he wasn't actually the boss. Then I learned that Toshiro himself was the boss of this kingdom, and I had to face off against him. Now, there was a ton of different cutscenes, and I'm not going to get into it too much, but after we got through all the cutscenes and all the dialogue, we learned that Arena was actually someone that Toshiro made up in his heart to protect himself. And she was actually his persona, which was super cool. And honestly, the best part about this game was you basically have the addition of a fourth character on the field at all times with Toshiro in his persona. And on top of that, he has a pretty strong attack, so he brings a lot to the table. But it was also pretty cool because if you still wanted to run Arena with Toshiro on the field, you could do that. They didn't limit you or get rid of her as a character, which was sweet because honestly, she was one of my favorites in combat. Now, I managed to defeat Shadow Toshiro as well as a puppet doll of Arena's real-world form. With that victory came the trophy, Those That Conquer Their Past. We basically managed to meet a god who put together these worlds to make an attempt to break Toshiro since he viewed him as a threat. Samael also used it as an opportunity to try to defeat the Phantom Thieves, but thankfully no one agreed to his terms to send him back to the real world, and in the end we made our way on Miss Lavenza's train to the Fourth Kingdom, and we were going to face off against Samael, the god. While in the fourth and final kingdom, I managed to finally pull 20 different enemies into Queen's Vortex and got the trophy, Ride Joanna. I also managed to make it through the last few missions and I unlocked the final hideout talks. And after skipping through them, I got the trophy, Quality Time at LeBlanc. Unfortunately, I did not complete all the quests during this playthrough. I'm honestly not sure why I didn't do it. I think I was so hyper fixated on finishing the main story because it felt like it was taking so long that I just forgot to go back and do them before finishing. But after a little bit of time, I managed to get through all the different bosses on the Fourth Kingdom and made it to Samael. After listening to him talk for a while, we managed to take him down on his first stage pretty easily. And after a little bit of time and grinding him down, we took down his second phase also. With that, we were finally done with the main story, and we got the trophy, A Will for Change. After all the cutscenes at the end of the game, and once we made it back to the real world and the credits rolled, I got the trophy, A Tale of Revolution. Now, I was finally done with the main story, but here's the thing. This game requires you to do a New Game Plus run to unlock personas that are only available in New Game Plus. So I basically had to go through the entire story again. Not exactly, you don't have to go through the entire thing, but I screwed up and I actually saved my New Game Plus over my original save data. So I couldn't go back and complete the quest, which is also the other reason why I had to go through the whole thing again. And I also forgot to go back and earn all the awards before doing it, so this was going to require me to go up to mission 50. And there's only 52 missions to complete. But anyways, I'm not going to bore you with the details of New Game Plus because honestly, nothing changes. But I did manage to use my unique skill 50 times and got the trophy, Walk Your Own Path. I am honestly very surprised I didn't unlock this one sooner because I feel like I was always using Joker or Panther's unique skill. After a little bit more time, I got the trophy Endless Journey for completing my 500th turn. Now, when I made it back to the Third Kingdom, I was able to purchase all the remaining weapons that I hadn't purchased previously, and I managed to purchase my 50th one and got the trophy Weapons Master. Shortly after that, I managed to complete a mission, and as I completed it, I ended up getting enough money and got the trophy Metaverse Aristocrat, and this was basically for earning a boatload of money throughout the entire game. Looking at the trophy list now, I realized I've never used a sleep weapon before, so I decided to equip one to Noir at the beginning of the New Game Plus playthrough. And finally, about halfway into the Third Kingdom, I managed to put my 20th enemy to sleep and got the trophy Sleep Craftsman. Now, after a ton of time, I finally made it back to the Fourth Kingdom. I decided I wanted to start cleaning up the side quests now so I wouldn't forget about them later. And during one of them, I managed to hit an all-out attack and managed to do over 2,000 damage in total, and I got a trophy. After finishing that quest, I managed to finish all of Miss Lavenza's trials and finish all of those side quests and got the trophy Conqueror of the Kingdoms. With the trials finished though, it allowed me to unlock the final skill in the skill tree for all of the characters. And after unlocking the final skill on one of my characters, I got the trophy New Heights. I decided now was a great time to start farming levels, so I decided to unlock a persona that gave a massive experience boost, and I fused it 3 times so I could have 3 different characters with that experience boost applied to them. After like 20 minutes of farming, which honestly was a big surprise and very thankful for that, and I was farming mission 43 and I was having Panther absolutely obliterate the enemy. After about 20 minutes or so, I finally hit level 99, and I want to say I started at like 70 something, but I got the trophy Unparalleled Growth. After maxing out my level, I went on to complete the final 4 missions I had left that I needed to collect the awards in. And after I completed those last few ones, I got the trophy Grand Thievery. During this playthrough, I made sure to unlock all of the awards on my first run through each of the missions so I wouldn't have to go back and redo anything, which honestly was very, very helpful towards the end. Now, one of the big things I left for last was to complete 100% of the compendium. For this though, I needed to fuse the strongest personas. So after a little bit of time and a lot of money, I managed to fuse the final persona and got the trophy, the Ultimate Mask. So at this point, I was actually out of money, but I didn't really have any other combat related trophies, so I decided to disassemble a bunch of weapons for money, and I fused the last 5 personas I needed, and I got the trophy, Collection of Knowledge. Now the last thing I needed to do was perform 10 baton passes, and I went into one of the last boss fights on the 4th Kingdom, and I just let the boss knock out my characters, and after about 6 more times, I managed to get the trophy, Irreplaceable Bonds, and with that, the platinum finally popped. Legendary Phantom Thief, and we were finally done. So how was the Persona 5 Tactica Platinum experience? Would I recommend this game? Was this game worth my time? Surprisingly, yes to all of them. I had a ton of fun with this game. Once I really got into it and I learned more about the mechanics, it was a blast. But also, when I was able to better understand the combat and have a bunch more turns by utilizing that one more ability, and even all the other systems that they had put into play, it was just so much more fun. But also, the platinum for this game is not extremely difficult to obtain. The hardest part about it was just making sure you had enough money to reach 100% on your compendium. But even then, I was only short like 100,000, but I was able to clear stages so fast toward the end that I wasn't concerned about money. I definitely feel like if you're okay with games or platinums that have a ton of dialogue, like similar to this game, it's worth a play. If you're familiar with this style of game, that's even better. Plus, if you pay attention to the story, it was actually pretty good in my opinion. I think what really did it for me was by the time you hit the 2nd Kingdom, the story just made me want to keep playing and got me to want to go further. But I will say it does take a while to get through a lot of the dialogue just because this is a very dialogue heavy game, so most of the story is going to be based on the dialogue and you have to read it. So it will take a little while. But honestly, it's worth it. Anyways, there's my platinum review of Persona 5 Tactica. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to hit the like button and subscribe. If you want to see me platinum or 100% any game or series of games, leave a comment down below. And I will see you in the next one.